Hey, everybody. Al Dennis here, Director of Communication. With me is
Matt Jacobs, PIO 101, Albert Dennis's right-hand man. I make popcorn for the team. I provide the team meal. I
Juicy Box.
also I host movie night every once a month. And we're thinking about starting a book club. I'm sure I'll be in charge of that too.
All right, everybody. We told you in our last video, if anything changes that we thought was pertinent or important, we'd be back here to share that. Matt, what has changed?
Well, Al, some of the areas we were talking about yesterday that were in a enhanced risk have now been upgraded to a moderate risk, and some of the areas that were in a slight risk have been upgraded to an enhanced risk tomorrow. And thank you for sharing that, Al. As you can see, the biggest area of concern yesterday has now been upgraded to a moderate risk. That includes places like Alexandria, Mobile, because even if you aren't in the area, it's that area and 20 miles around that circle. So keep that in mind. Just short of Birmingham, that's going to include the city of Tuscaloosa. If you live in Hattiesburg, the last time these guys had a moderate risk, some of these towns, we all know what happened, major tornado outbreak. So actually it was a high risk day, but I'm saying anything, that significant. And it seems like these areas have just been battered time and time again this year, Al. A lot of damage in Mississippi and Alabama, and even last week, the lower ninth ward of Louisiana. So
Absolutely, Matt. And we still got several more updates on the weather. This might be a high risk day tomorrow. They're not done yet. They're still going over models and things. The dynamics are changing.
Well, and Al, I know we briefly touched on this yesterday. I just want to reiterate this point before we move forward. This system is going to be twofold, and this is the one thing you need to be aware of. And Al, I believe it was during your portion of the video yesterday, we talked about the SPC was still uncertain whether we could have some discrete supercells pop out in front of this bow echo or quasi-linear convective system, not to get too technical with it, but they now have the evidence to support that there is all the ingredients in place for tomorrow for that development of these discrete supercells popping out in front of this linear system behind it. So you will have the threat for tornadoes followed by damaging wind and possibility for more spin-ups along that line.
Absolutely, Matt. And like I said, we've been covering this, and we're going to continue to cover it as this transpires throughout the rest of this evening, because we are watching. We'll pop over here real quick. Today, we're watching this area here from up into Iowa, just a smidgen up there in Dakota and Minnesota, all the way down into Texas. We're watching this area because they have a slight risk through Oklahoma and Kansas for tornado outbreak, only, or not outbreak, but tornadoes, period, 5%. But on to today, what Matt was talking about, the tornado risk, you see here that it has a 15% in the area that is the moderate. Under the tornado hat, it's showing 15% chance. Now, if I switch over here real quick, Matt, here is our scale on the hatched products, and 15 with significant weather shows your tornado activity is moderate with a slight risk of wind and hail damage. With this moderate level, what they're saying is that you could see EF2, enhanced Fujita scale, EF2 tornadoes, and obviously you could see underneath that as well, zeros and ones, but they do have the strength and the convective available potential energy, the CAPE values that we want. They do have the energy to grow to at least, an EF2, maybe higher in some points. I mean, they wasn't expecting that in Louisiana down in the Ninth Ward when they got that one come through there the other night that we was covering.
And that was an rated an EF high end EF3, Al. So
Yeah.
Very much the possibility, and we hate to even say it, the large, long track damaging tornadoes. Like we saw in Winterset, the EF4 there at the start of the month, and thinking back to December 10th, some of the long track tornadoes that happened then as well. So we have the parameters in place for that type of day tomorrow.
Absolutely, Matt. We're back here on the scale real quick, showing the different categories of this system going through from all the way up into the Great Lakes, all the way down into the panhandle of Florida, over to Corpus Christi, Texas, through the Gulf of Mexico. They're talking, you got all these pretty colors up here, from just your thunderstorm, your general thunderstorm, to your marginal, slight, enhanced, and moderate, which moderate and high is not something they throw out all the time. Would you like to go over what each one of these categories stand for so people know?
Sure thing, Al. And if you don't mind, I'd like to transition into a little bit of another educational thing before I kick it back to you after that.
Yeah.
But yes, as you can see, the pale green, or like you were saying up there in the Great Lakes region, that's called general thunderstorm risk, where you could see a thunderstorm, but it is not expected to intensify to severe nature at all. And then when you get to marginal risk, it is isolated severe thunderstorms are possible, but we've seen it time and time again here in Ohio, Al, as much as they don't really talk about the tornado risk, you can see tornadoes spin up in a marginal risk area.
Absolutely. Last week, key
Yep.
example, last week, we was watching the weather. It kind of broke underneath of the Dayton area with the slide. It went Dayton up north, marginal, got into Math area up in northwest Ohio, went back to slight. But here in Dayton, actually, I was caught out on the highway in a tornado warning. And we've had, was it 3 confirmed tornadoes that day here in Wilmington's coverage area?
Yep. And Clark County, I do believe Clark County was in the marginal risk and had a tornado touchdown. It was, I want to say it was Van Wert County, Clark County, and then it was
Clarksville, and I believe it's Clinton or Warren, but I'm pretty sure Clinton.
You're correct. Clinton County. I'm sorry. Yes. And
you know what? Hold on. Are we sure it was Clark County had a touchdown? I know we had Clarksville.
No. I was saying you're correct. It was Clinton County. The city was Clarksville.
Yeah. But they was also in the marginal, because I believe Cincinnati and below was slight for that day. But we're off track here. Let's continue.
And then when you get into the slight risk, scattered severe storms are possible. Short-lived and or non-widespread isolated intense storms possible. And that's where we see a lot of these EF0, EF1 type of tornado spin-ups occur in the slight risk. And then there you'll start getting the higher wind speeds and hail associated with thunderstorms at that point. And then you get to your enhanced risk, which at that point, that is the possibility where you can start to see some isolated potential for a damaging long track supercell storm, and can produce violent tornadoes at that point, but very small chance in nature. And then you get into the moderate risk, which is what we're going to deal with tomorrow. And as you can see, it says long-lived, widespread, and intense supercell thunderstorms will usually occur in this area. And then a high-risk day, obviously, it is as close to, ring the bell, emergency. You go back to 4/27/11, and 4 days before that storm occurred. In the state of Alabama, they were already closing schools and stuff like that. And so that is our thunderstorm risk categories, Al. And that is where a lot of your high-end EF4s and EF5s will come from in your high-risk days.
And the biggest part of this is if you look here at the very bottom line under the towards the middle of it, is that it's expected, it's possible, then here you go, it's very likely, and then here you can expect it. It's almost like Matt was saying, this is coming.
And one thing I did want to add, Al, just in case people were wondering, well, why is it that a lot of these same areas, the panhandle of Florida, you have Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, why are they getting a lot of storms this year, Al? That's a very good question. And as we were talking off camera, we are currently in a La Nina period. And for those of you that don't know what a La Nina period means, it is characterized by unusually warm ocean temperatures. So if you think about it, we're here in the Gulf. The Gulf feeds a lot of moisture up into this area. You have higher than normal temperatures, which is going to raise your dew point, your humidity levels, and that all ties into Cape values, your wind shear and all of that. But just the dew point and the humidity factor from the La Nina coming off of the Gulf has contributed to a lot of the reason why you see a lot of these Gulf coastal regions have been receiving above average amounts of severe storms so far in 2022.
Absolutely. And the Great Lakes, I don't believe even froze over. If they did, it was very thin this year. Something else I want to cover, Matt, real quick while we have everybody here is the difference today and tomorrow. Some of your weather, hopefully you have them, the weather radios, not issues, but puts it out. You have to purchase them. But hopefully you have part of your storm preparedness. You have a NOAA radio. If not, your local meteorologist will be talking about this on their newscast. You'll hear it on radio. Any EAS warnings come out, they'll be talking about this. And we're going to drop out the advisory and outlook part of this. We're really going to be talking about watch and warning, the difference between the two for tomorrow. Watch just means that the situation is favorable. You could expect this. We are watching out for this. It's not happening, but we're expecting it to happen. Where warning means it's happening now, or getting ready to happen. You should prepare immediately. Watch will go out in advance of a storm coming in to get you better prepared, let you know to be prepared in the event it goes to warning. Warning means you need to seek shelter. So that's the difference between watches and warnings. And you can read the screen. I'm not going to sit here and read it to you, but basically that's what it is. Watch just means prepare. We see situations that could turn dangerous. All of the environmental factors are there. We have all the ingredients to make a taco, but we don't have a taco. Warning means you've put all of it together in the shell ready to eat it. That's your taco. If you want to break it down that way. I seen a meme on that the other day. I thought that was a pretty good analogy.
But Al, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said that a warning means that it is occurring. Something is happening.
Or likely.
Okay. During a warning.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now a common misconception, and I wanted you to touch on this, is people don't understand that tornado warning doesn't necessarily mean tornado on the ground. Would you like to expand on that for a little bit? And I know we've covered it before, but just a quick review of it since we are about to have this event or this possible event tomorrow.
Absolutely, Matt. And real quick before I go into that, if you look on our YouTube page under Four Brothers Storm Team, you'll see me and Matt did put out a video going over the outlook, advisory, watch, and the difference between watch and warnings and all the parameters. We went a little bit more in depth on that to help you understand. But a tornado warning means the system is there. It's ready to either to develop a tornado, meaning it's radar indicated rotation, meaning all it's there, and if they don't do the warning at that point, a tornado could come down, be on the ground with little to no warning. So they will issue the warning in advance, sometimes before the tornado actually touches the ground. And you'll hear this in your National Weather Service alert, hazards include tornadoes, sources, radar indicated rotation. Or if it's on the ground and somebody spots it and notifies 911 that they see a tornado, calls the local National Weather Service, and spots the thing, and we're storm spotters, but does that, advises them, then they'll put out that your source is not radar indicated, but it is public observed, NWS observed, and sometimes they can even do a tornado confirmed on the ground by radar by some of the other products. But the big part of it is a tornado warning. You need to seek shelter. At that point, you don't need to worry, well, is it just a rotating cloud or is it on the ground? By the time you figure out which it is, might be too late, and you might miss that safety window for you to get into your safe spot or better protect your family.
And one other thing, Al, I did want to bring up to people. Now, I'm not sure how they're releasing the warnings to the public, but just in case you are watching our video or possibly hearing somebody else talk about storms and they talk about severe thunderstorm warnings, just quickly wanted to go over that really quick, Al. There are two new categories, and I won't get too in depth with you, but a regular severe thunderstorm warning. Now they have an SVRC, which is called severe thunderstorm warning with the possibility of considerable damage, and SVRD, which means destructive, which means that you will have 80+ mile-an-hour winds. You will have the baseball size hail. So I just wanted to let people know, if they hear the terms SVRC, SVRD, that the National Weather Service has now kind of has a tier system on how they put out their severe thunderstorm warnings.
Absolutely, Matt. And we're going to be doing a video on that. So again, on your YouTube side of things here, make sure to like us, hit that bell, hit the subscribe button so you'll be alerted when we put out these new videos.
Sorry, Al, I just wanted to say that we and I think we say this just about every video, but I want to reiterate it. We are not in the business of being Pecos Hank. There's only one Pecos Hank. There's only one Reed Timmer. They do a great job of what they do. I mean, we are not just in the chasing game, is what I'm getting at. And why we don't knock anybody for just being a chaser. That is not what I'm getting at with this. But we also value the educational side of what we do, and learn, being able to not only learn ourselves, but to teach people how to correctly identify the threat for severe weather on a radar, and where Dr. Fujita may have decided to come up with the parameters for the EF scale. And when we call ourselves enthusiasts, we don't just mean, yay, we like what we do. We really do immerse ourselves into this, and it is something we want to share with you. It's more than, I would say, we are weather passionists, even though that's not a word. But since
it is today.
So I just wanted you to know that we love doing these types of videos right here, just as much as we do getting out in the field and boots on the ground, spotting for storms.
Absolutely. Matt, we're going to go over real quick. We're not going to keep this as a long video like me and Matt normally does, but we're going to go over, and this is the base reflectivity, and this is a rough guideline on some of the times and areas we can expect to see storms tomorrow. Again, this is all about Wednesday, the 30th. As I progress here, you could see over here on the Texas side down here around outside of Houston in that little Galveston area, Beaumont, Houston, Galveston area here. You'll watch the storms progress and come across. And as they come across, we are watching other values that's showing that this does have the potential for tornadics, both the development of supercells and the significant tornadic parameters going across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and some of the parameters lessen as it goes off to the East Coast. Again, I'm going to run through this a few times so you can see. And what we're essentially looking at is right here is 11 a.m., 10, 11 a.m. I can't remember the central time part of it, but 10, 11 a.m. Wednesday morning, starting in Louisiana. That's where you're going to need to start being extremely weather aware. And here, New Orleans, you're still going to have some stuff going on down in here. Let's see, it's this 3 a.m. So around 10, 11 o'clock at night. So it's going to be an all-day event for Louisiana and most of Mississippi. And now we're getting, Matt, into nocturnal storms in Alabama.
Well,
And Tennessee.
That's correct, Al. And as you can see, if you run it back for me, keep going right about there. So, as Al and I talked about, the Storm Prediction Center now feels very strongly that there is the chance of discrete supercells popping up out ahead of the quasi-linear convective system. That is your quasi-linear convective system. And as you can see out in front and a little bit to the south, this is where all these storms are going to fire up and eventually push its way eastward and northeastward into Mississippi and Alabama. And as you can see on the radar or on the models, it is still showing that line of discrete supercells still forming out in front of this bow echo quasi-linear convective system, and will be forming out in front of it, which means there is nothing taking out the energy out of the atmosphere, which means every single one of these discrete supercells are going to be fueled by all the dew point and all the humidity, the wind shear, all of that. None of that will be unimpeded at the time they go through. So that is going to be the big.
Right here is your dew point values up in the 70s, upper 60s, 70s throughout most of Louisiana.
And as you go forward, you can see that Alabama or Mississippi and Alabama, the dew points right in there are creeping upwards the upper 60s at that point as well. So all that to say, the bad part about it is, folks, is you're going to get the discrete cells popping up out in front with the potential for large track or long track damaging tornadoes. And then you're going to have a wind event behind it with the possibility of the last model we looked at, I believe it was near EF0 winds covering a large part of that area back behind the potential for tornadoes.
Correct. Up around 68 mile an hour winds there. Here's our significant parameter for tornadoes. You can see a lot of Louisiana, Mississippi going through southern Alabama and the panhandle of Florida there. And then the next day, which would be Thursday, you can see it starting to bring up values again through middle to northern part of Alabama Georgia and South Carolina. But we're going to break this up here real quick, Matt. And now we're going to go to the top part of this storm. Let me go over to this here. And we're going to look at it from the northern side. We talked about the southern side up to Tennessee. Now let's talk about Tennessee to Chicago.
Sure thing now.
As soon as I can get it to stop moving.
Well, as you can see, that line is all the way up into Missouri, through Arkansas, and now into Tennessee, Illinois, and the
Almost Chicago.
Boot Hill. Yes, sir. And the Boot Hill of Kentucky at this point.
And then as it starts to die down on the northern part, Matt, it still keeps going on the southern part because of all of the energy.
And I just want to reiterate this, just because this is a quasi-linear convective system, it doesn't mean the potential for spin ups along this line are not there. There is a potential for some spin ups to occur along this line of storms. But as of right now, like we have said, damaging winds will be the main threat all the way up, like you said, just short of Chicago into Louisiana along that line.
Right there's our dew points coming all the way up. You see how high they're going. And Matt, what the problem here is we're talking about the southern United States down what's known as Dixie Alley. Unfortunately, the problem is up in the Dakotas. The low pressure that's causing this problem is up in northern continental United States, up in the Dakotas. And again, we've talked about the swirl, how it does on the southeastern side. It pulls up moisture from the Gulf. On the northwest side of it, it pulls down cold air from Canada there. So this is what's going on. We have a huge low pressure up here that's coming across. It started out in the Pacific, came through, caused some problems for Southern California yesterday, came across the Rockies, dissipated, it's reforming. Now it is over, I believe it's, well, you know what, Matt? Let's just go look. Make it easier. Yeah. See the low pressure is, it came across Southern California, came through Colorado, Kansas, and now it's going up. I thought it was up a little higher. I was wrong. The low pressure is actually over Wisconsin, moving into the Great Lakes.
That's correct, Al. And that's a pretty fast moving system from Monday to Wednesday to go from California to Mississippi, Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not going to keep you guys long. We just wanted to go over and real quick down in this area, Matt, before we leave, I think 35. Let's stick it at 35. Let's talk a little bit about what we see here. That's going to be the Memphis, Paducah, close to Evansville. This is going to be Champaign, Illinois, all the way up in and around Chicago, Illinois. Do a quick little, we went and showed the dew point, how it's pulling that line straight up. The temperatures is another factor. We want to look at it right along this front. You can see on this side, we're in the 70s. On this side, we're in the mid to low 50s. So it's going to be around a 20-degree wind or temperature drop as this moves through the area. Going down into our severe weather parameters, the significant tornado, the SIGTOR, significant tornadic parameters, you can see it doesn't really go as far north as the values are in the south. It's stopping, what did we call it? Jacksonville, Tennessee?
Jackson, Tennessee.
What is it?
Jackson with no Ville.
Oh, Jackson, Tennessee. Jackson, Tennessee is going to be about the height of that. Not ruling it out because some of the Cape values, are there and they're coming around on the backside, but we're not really worried about this because the storm front is way over here. This is non-storm related stuff here. But we just, like I said, wanted to stop in and give you guys a heads up. We told you if things change, we thought you need to be aware of. We would stop in and bring that information to you, which, like Matt covered, we can see that there is a significant moderate risk covering Memphis, Baton Rouge, Mobile, Jackson, Tuscaloosa, and many more cities, and just under the moderate, not including the enhanced, the slight, or the marginal risk, as well as the tornadic parameters. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Al, and if you go, well, even here in the tornado parameters, they always say it's a 20-mile radius around where the tornado, like the tornado that would be like the SIGTOR, but from the SPC. So Birmingham, you're right on the door. You might as well consider yourself in the moderate risk at this point and exercise caution. I mean, you're a little too close to not to let your guard down tomorrow.
Exactly. Little Rock, Paducah, Nashville, Birmingham. You guys are in the enhanced risk. That's bad enough. I mean, that's still worthy of doing a video talking about. We have a lot of tornadoes that happen just here in the slight risk. So now we're upping it to enhanced, going all in on moderate. So we'll be watching this very closely tomorrow, trying to give you as much information as possible. I know that there are some stuff going on to where we're going to be busy towards the morning part, but towards the afternoon part on, we should be here ready to go live and start giving you coverage. Again, you can look us up right here on Facebook or right here on YouTube under Four Brothers Storm Team, and that's where we're going to post this video, and we'll share it on our other media platforms. But Four Brothers Storm Team on Facebook, we do a lot of live storm coverages there as well, and you can follow us on Twitter, Matt.
It's at Brothers Storm Team on
At
Twitter.
Brothers Storm Team on Twitter.
And just so you know, our Twitter's been kind of dormant for a while, and that's because we're going to mainly use Twitter for our videos and pictures that we have from our chases or our spots, and any user submitted photos that you guys would like to have highlighted and spotted. And of course, we give you guys all the photo credits.
Absolutely, Matt. We'll not only do it there, but there's a good chance that we'll show the videos right here on our videos that we put out. And again, you will be credited for anything submitted to the team. But again, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, keep an eye on all of those, especially YouTube and Facebook. We're going to be going live and trying to get information out to you as best as we can. We'll hopefully have a few more of our members on tomorrow to assist with coverage. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of storms, tornadic or not, but a lot of storms to cover. We will be able to bring it to you live. We're going to be able to show you and read you exactly what the warnings are for what areas and what the damage or danger is, whether it's radar indicated rotation or confirmed on the ground, or even worse, Matt, if it's TORE, which is a tornado emergency. Hopefully we do not have none of those tomorrow, but we'll be able to show it to you all right here live as it happens when we go live tomorrow. I'm really expecting this is going to happen right here on Four Brothers, right there. So we are going to sign out here. Hopefully everybody's staying safe. And again, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, up to there, we are keeping an eye on you today. It's looking pretty good right now. I'm not going to switch over to that yet. We'll do that off camera. But hopefully everybody's staying safe and staying on the dry side of the door. This is Al Dennis, Director of Communication With me as always, my right-hand man, my PIO, my O1, Matt Jacobs. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day.